Batman number 23, written by Scott Snyder, art by Greg Capullo. So last issue, we had Batman finally meeting up with Edward Nygma, and then he went back to his apartment, and it exploded because of the Red Hood gang. So this issue is how he turned year one into 0 year. So we see a bunch of cutting back and forth of Bruce being rescued from the cave he fell down in as a child by his father, and also what's currently happening, and also what's going to happen. So just know the cave thing's happening, but what's currently happening is the apartment's exploding. Bruce has a bunch of armored statues. He grabs one of the shields off of it and barricades himself to defend from the explosion, and gets busted through a wall. And we see when he lands on the outside, he's helped up by the leader of the Red Hood gang, and he's like, oh yeah, no, cool weapons and stuff. The whole reason could have saved you. We could have some fun together. And he spits at Red Hood leader, and all the other Red Hood gang members start beating the ever-living crap out of him. And Red Hood 1 explains, hey, the day your parents died is what inspired me, because seeing your parents, these paragons of Gotham, struck down by a random crime, it made me realize that that's the thing people fear the most, is the randomness of it all. The fact that they could just be destroyed like that. That's why I made my gang the way I did, where it is just pure randomness, an empty center. You don't know any of us. There's no one to prosecute. So he goes on and on and on. He's basically like, yeah, no, there's currently this guy who thinks he's better, but in the end, the chaos always wins. So we'll get him sooner rather than later. So he takes down the portrait of Bruce's parents, shoots both of them in the head, and is like, yep, and maybe tonight someone will be inspired by your death of a random house fire. See ya. And they all leave, leaving Bruce bleeding out on the floor. So we see Bruce trying to crawl his way over to a bookcase. He gets behind it. He sees his entire back room is on fire as well. It's being engulfed in the explosion. And he barely manages to make his way out before it explodes. And the thing that's happening in the future that's been overcut with all of this is that Bruce stumbles his way to the gates of Wayne Manor. He smashes the lock off with a rock, and he gets his way in through the front door and just basically falls over because of blood loss on the ground. So the last words there are, it'll be over soon. Okay, it's finally over, and he collapses on the ground. So then we see back at Wayne Tower, the green question mark from Nygma's office goes through the window, and we see that Philip Kane is holding Nygma at gunpoint, saying like, dude, you shot Bruce. Bruce Wayne was not supposed to be killed. I could have convinced him. And Nygma's like, no, you couldn't. He was totally going to take the company from you. There's no way you were ever going to do it. It was like 2 moves away. I did you a favor. And Kane is just super pissed off about this. He's like, okay, what happens if I kill you now? And he's like, unlikely. You wouldn't want people asking questions, especially with someone like me on your payroll. And he's like, yeah, well, we've kept you centralized to just this room, and I have an electromagnet underneath your office that can wipe all your computers with just a secret code word. And he's like, very well thought out. I guess you've got the one up on me now, but what if I just happen to say the secret code word is Kane? And then the steel plate inside of Philip Kane's head is attracted to the electromagnet, and it keeps him held down to the ground. Why you would make your super secret special password your last name, I don't know. But regardless, Riddler's like, yeah, okay, take this as my resignation. I'm going to go over to Powers Company and see if they want my surprisingly large intellect. See ya. And as he's leaving, Philip Kane just tells him like, you got to stay in the shadows though. What's the point of all your intellect if you got to stay in the shadows? You're nothing but an empty question mark. And Riddler's like, that gives me an idea. So we see Bruce coming to. Alfred is sewing him up, and he's like, I'm sorry, Master Bruce, I'm very rusty. But as Bruce sits up, he's like, look, here's the thing. I know that we've partied on bad terms before, but I was a soldier. I was a medic out in the field. I saw people who were told that there was no way they were going to survive, and I still had to do my best. I still had to fix them. Regardless of if I agree with you or not, I will be here to patch you up no matter what happens. So he hands Bruce a blanket, and Bruce walks away. He walks throughout the manor, and we see night has fallen. He goes through, he looks at some of his parents' old mementos, and he goes about analyzing, and finally he makes his way into the library, and he sees the bust of his dad, and he's like, Dad, I'm not doing all right, man. I'm trying, and I need some guidance here. Alfred says I need to be more, but what is it? What do I need to be? Just tell me. And we see that he pulls out something that he had before, was the little hologram ball that he dropped down in that cave from like 3 issues ago, and he accidentally activates it. And as he's standing in the library, the entire library is mapped with the hologram of the Bat Cave, and he sees an open window nearby. And as he looks, so he sees the video recording of all the bats that attacked him flying through the window, and they pass through his chest because they're just holograms. And he's like, yes, I understand now. And he sits down in the chair, and he looks at the bust of his father and says, yes, Father, I shall become the Bat. So the hologram ball breaks. The bat is the one. There is a real bat that made its way in. It's sitting on top of his father's bust, and he just sits there staring at it in the dark. And that's it. That's the issue. So here's the thing. I read year 1. That is straight up just year 1. That's like, because year 1 had that perfect moment. It was like he's bleeding out. He doesn't know like what he's supposed to do. He needs to become something more. And then the bat busts in through the window, and he becomes Batman. That's the moment. Do I think this improved it? No. I think that this realized that the bat busting through the window was itself a perfect moment. This is just trying to do something a little bit different. It's not better. It's not that much worse, though. I think that it's pretty on par. It's just a tiny bit too much. You know, you kind of want the moment before he becomes Batman to be this like deep, personal, like this is it. Adding in the weird hologram ball just seems like a bit much. That's my personal opinion. But I do think that in the end, the hologram ball breaks. He's left sitting there in the dark. It's practically the same moment at that point. Though I do like the idea that he was bleeding out in year 1, and that he would have died if he didn't come to that conclusion. Here he's already been patched up, so 50-50 on that. So overall, decent issue, not awful. I do think that the next time we come back, Batman 24 is probably going to be the better issue, because it's going to take that time to really solve out, like, here's Batman's first appearance. Like, that's going to be it. There's no way that we can come back and it's not going to be him in full back gear. So I'm going to give this one an, I was going to say 8, but I think I convinced myself down to a 7.5. So 7.5, perfectly okay, but it was going up against an all-time classic. There was no way it was going to win out.